What is going on, y'all? FaizSportsTalk back at it with another video talking, of course, some NFL. And here to talk about the Chicago Bears. So if you're a Bears fan and you're not subscribed to the channel, I don't know what you're doing, because the Bears season is literally right around the corner. And I do talk a lot of Bears football on the channel. So you're going to want to stay subbed, and you're going to want to turn on the post notifications, and you're going to want to follow me on my social media links down below and on the screen for all of that. So with that being said, I've got a great topic to talk about today. As you can tell by the title, we're talking best case and worst case scenario for the Bears this season. So what is the Bears' best case scenario? If everything goes right, what happens with the Bears this season? And then obviously the opposite, what happens if everything goes wrong? And what happens in that situation for the Bears record-wise, right? So we'll talk about both of these situations and my thoughts on both of them. So with that being said, let's get started. So the idea actually came from NFL.com, who did the best and worst case record prediction for every team. And for the Bears, they had the Bears' best case scenario at 11 wins. So 11-5 for the Bears' best case scenario. And for the worst case scenario, 4 wins, so 4-12. And it kind of makes sense, right? When you think about it, the Bears in 2018 obviously had a phenomenal year. They go 12-4, they win the division, everything's great. And then in 2019, they go 8-8, fall flat on their face, miss the playoffs, and it was just a forgetful year. So basically, NFL.com is saying either the Bears are going to be really good or really bad. No in between. And I kind of agree with that. I really don't think I see much of a scenario for the Bears going 8-8 again this year, or like 9-7, like mediocre. I see the Bears either going really good or just below average. Not terrible, but let me explain why. So let's start with the best case scenario, okay? Best case scenario, how do I see this team going? And very simply, I just went down the schedule, and I just went down the schedule, and I picked all the games that the Bears should win and are expected to win, and I just went with it. And to me, best case scenario is 12-4 or 13-3. Okay, so that's the best case scenario, which obviously would definitely, to me, win the division, possibly number 1 seed in the NFC, and everything would be great, right? So 12-4 is the best case scenario, and in that instance, I would say if the Bears are playing that well, then they are definitely one of the best teams in the NFC and in the NFL in general, but particularly the NFC. You take a look at the best teams. We're talking about the Saints. We're talking about possibly the Bucks. We're talking about the 49ers. We're talking about, maybe the Seahawks. But really, the Bears would be up there. And at that point, to me, the Saints would be the biggest threat. So potentially, I could see the Bears going all the way to the NFC title game, maybe losing to the Saints. But then if we could certainly beat them if we were that good at 12-4 and get to the Super Bowl. So best case scenario, everything goes right. The Bears are a Super Bowl contender. They are, and they get to the Super Bowl, right? As far as winning the Super Bowl, we'll see. Maybe the Chiefs come out again, and at that point, it's tough. But best case scenario, they're Super Bowl contender, which is fantastic. What is the worst case scenario? Worst case scenario to me, and again, same thing. I went down the list, and I just picked the Bears to lose, the games that they're not supposed to lose, but basically I picked the Bears to only win the games against the absolute trash teams, right? The Jaguars, right? Like the Giants. We'll definitely win against the Lions, like at least one. But point being is against the teams that we know are worse than the Bears. And I came out to like 5-11. 5 wins at least. And the reason I say 5 wins and not maybe 4, maybe 5-11 to 6-10 is because this defense is just too good to not win at least 5 games. They just are. I'm sorry. And this is why I said I don't see much of a scenario where the Bears absolutely become one of the worst teams in the NFL. I'm talking about 3-13, 2-14, something like that. And the reason why is, number 1, this defense is too good to let that happen. This defense alone can win you 5-6 games. And number 2, the Bears have found a way to kind of almost guarantee that the quarterback plays better than last year, okay? Because if Mitch Trubisky starts, he has earned the starting job over Nick Foles, and he's played well. Now, if Mitch Trubisky's play falters and he does poorly, then you bring in Nick Foles, and so the quarterback play will improve. Basically, there is no steep decline in quarterback play like we had last year because we've kind of guaranteed ourselves. Either Mitch plays well and keeps the job, or Nick Foles plays well and keeps the job, or they get replaced by each other and those guys play well. And so there is no Chase Daniels coming in to replace Mitch Trubisky, right? We actually have viable quarterback options. So to me, just off of that. So essentially, for the Bears to go 2-14, 3-13, 4-12, like these awful records, you literally need both Foles and Trubisky to get hurt. So now you're down to like your third string quarterback in Tyler Bray. And you probably need your defense, a couple of guys to get hurt. So injuries are probably the only way that happens. So you really need some significant injuries to big-time significant players at significant positions, or I don't see it happening. So best case scenario, folks, I'm going 12-4, 13-3. Worst case scenario, 5-11, 6-10. That's where I'm at, folks. What do you guys think? And here's the last thought I'll leave you with. If it was up to me, I would absolutely want to, if we're not going to be really good, to be awful, because you get a high draft pick, right? You get a chance to get Trevor Lawrence next year in the draft. But here's the one big problem. The one big problem I see with that is, with this defense, I don't see how you do a full rebuild. I just don't. I'm sorry. So if the Bears are completely awful, they're going to have to keep retooling the team because the defense is too good. They're a championship Super Bowl defense. And if you are rebuilding, you will probably have to start trading away these players on the defensive end, or else there's no point to be a rebuilding team with a very, very good Super Bowl type defense. So that's where I'm at, folks. Again, I hate being stuck in no man's land. I'd love to get a high draft pick, but I don't see how you do a full-blown rebuild with this defense. You got to do a retool and just try to keep getting the quarterback position right. At that point, it is what it is. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below if you agree with this. As always, thanks for watching.